I'm Zach.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is a Couple Games YouTube channel.
So in this video, we are excited to talk about our favorite date night games. We play a lot of board games, especially as like our date night. So we have 2 young kids. We don't have a lot of time to necessarily go out. And so we have a handful of games that we consider like our date night games. So we thought we would go through those since we have Valentine's Day coming up. We thought it'd be just some fun content to share. And we are also sipping on these little mocktails. You want to tell them what's in it?
Yeah, so...
If you remember.
I don't know. That's it has a carbonated water, like a sparkling water. It has like a grapefruit.
It's Spindrift, Blood Orange, and Tangerine.
Yes.
The exact one.
And then we added some juices like cranberry.
I use Cran-Pomegranate,
Yeah.
and Zach uses Immunity Cran-Pomegranate. They're both ocean spray, and then just a lime. Like we just squeezed a lime. I had half, and he had the other half.
Yeah.
And I'll put the recipe in the description too. Really simple, just a little fun drink.
Yeah.
That we like to have with our board games. But should we jump into our date night games?
Yeah. You want to jump off with the honorable mention, so to speak?
Yeah, so we're decided to start with an honorable mention. We have 6 total games we're talking about, so 5 that we're really focusing on, but we think we have an honorable mention here. And that would be Paris, La Cité de Lumière. We also have the Eiffel Tower expansion, which we love. In Paris, this is a quick game. This is only about 30 minutes, which is why I debated on putting it on this list, but it definitely has like a fun little romantic theme. Your board is actually part of the box, so it's really tiny and compact, and you are playing this game in 2 phases. In the first phase, you're laying down your streets, like in the streets of Paris, and each player has a color that they're focused on. It's either blue or orange. And so you're trying to focus on building your streets in a way that will let you build your buildings in phase 2. So you've got phase 1, lay the streets, phase 2, building time. And their buildings are polyominoes, and so if you've watched any of this channel before, you know that we love polyomino games. Mm-hmm. It's very puzzly, abstract, challenging. There's also these like postcards, which I'll let you tell them what the postcards do.
Yeah, there's postcards they're almost like player powers, but some of them are buildings, some of them let you build on like your opponent's colors, and there's different scoring opportunities and such. And so you can either draft one of those or place a building, and it's both phases kind of have that, am I going to lay down something that's going to score me points, or am I going to take something that would maybe benefit me later? Which is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it really is just the most points wins. You're trying to build your buildings around light posts in this game that are on your street tiles. And so the closer you are to those light posts with your buildings, the more your points will multiply, the faster they'll multiply. So it's really just about creating your little Paris city, getting all your buildings laid out that are, specific to your color, and trying to get the most points.
Yeah.
It plays really quick.
Super quick. So it's Paris, La Cité de Lumière. The first one I was thinking of was Santorini. So in Santorini, you are Greek gods and goddesses. It's kind of a romantic theme, and you're building this like really pretty Santorini picture. So if you like Google image like Santorini, Greece, then you see these white buildings with blue roofs. It's pretty cool. It's almost like a chess. You go back and move around and build buildings. That's pretty much what you do on a turn. And then the first person that can get one of their people up to a 3rd level is the winner. And so, yeah, and there's tons of different god powers. It plays really quick too. The time says 20 minutes, but got anything to?
Yeah, when you said it plays similar to chess, think that if it goes vertically though. In chess, you're constantly trying to go like horizontally in that game, and in this one, you're trying to build up and get your people to go up to reach the top before it gets domed or capped. Because you can always cap if you think someone's getting close. There's a good defensive mechanism there.
Yeah, and it's not as like complex as chess. It's much lighter than that. You're only controlling 2 people 2 pieces. And so,
Yeah.
But that's Santorini.
It's also like a 20 minutes tops kind of game.
Yeah.
So both Paris and Santorini are quick if you're just wanting something a little lighter and that doesn't take as long.
Yeah.
So the next games are bigger. They definitely take up, at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, some of them. So they're definitely the meatier board games. And so we'll go ahead and start with Grand Austria Hotel. In this game, you are laying out, I'm trying to figure out where to set it so that I don't bump the camera. So in this game, you basically own a hotel, and you're trying to attract guests and visitors, and you're trying to serve them. And you're trying to serve all these different types of food and drinks and beverages in order to attract and keep your guests and get them, service to their room.
Yeah, it has a really cool dice mechanism where at the beginning of every round you roll a bunch of dice and you sort them. Each number is a different action, and then the number of dice of that particular number is basically the power of the action. So if you have a bunch of 1s, then taking a 1, I believe it gets you either the coffee or the wine, or that might be the 2. But if there's a bunch of those and you take one of them, then you're going to get a bunch of that resource. Or if you take the one that lets you prepare a bunch of rooms, or prepare a room, if there's a bunch of dice out of that pool you're drafting from, then you're going to get to prepare a bunch of rooms. And so that's really neat. And then there's different ways to mitigate the dice and stuff, and you can kind of push your luck and say, I don't like any of the dice,
you can pass.
I'm going to pass and re-roll them at the end of the round and stuff. It's really cool, and you're attracting guests to your cafe. Once they're in your cafe, you have to give them the resources so that they'll go to stay in your hotel.
And everything's color-coded too, so your rooms are certain color, and if you get certain groups of that color, then it's worth more points, and then your guests are colored too, so everything's color-coded pretty easily for you to see how your points will score and what benefits you'll get. This one, how long would you say it is?
Oh, it's probably 60 to 90 minutes.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking an hour at least for 2 people. We've never played it at more than 2. We've only played this 2-player. We think it plays well at 2. Good little date night game. Anything else?
Yeah, no. It's Grand Austria Hotel. Like Michelle mentioned earlier, we got the upgrade resources off of Etsy that are actual little coffees, little bottles of wine, little cakes and strudel.
Cakes and strudel, that's right.
Yeah, so highly recommend.
Yeah.
The next one on our list is Taverns of Tall. So in Taverns of Tall, you are drafting dice and basically running your own tavern, and you're serving guests either meat is it? What's alcohol? Nah, alcohol. I forgot what the name of the beer is, or did they just call it beer?
It's just beer. Ale.
Just beer. Ale. There you go. Gosh.
Ale.
And you're hiring waitresses and barbacks and things like that. But the really neat thing is your tavern's this board, but the pieces are modular. They come out and flip and do all this stuff. So when you upgrade your tavern, you flip
part of your board over, and then there's better opportunities on that side and opportunities for more points, or just it's easier for you to complete other actions too.
Yeah.
I consider this also a deck building game because you are, and the cards are tiny, but you are trying to serve the guests that are in your guest pile, and then you also will have the opportunity to get, like you said, the waitresses, or there's
dishwasher.
Yeah, something to kind of help speed up the dish process, because there is a little bit of logistics that you've got to work through each time. But it's just a cute tavern themed game that also has a lot to it because of the whole modular setup, and you can also play with as much or as little of the modules as you want. So if you want to keep it more simple, then just don't use some of the modules.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'll definitely say the base game is very introductory to deck building and stuff like that. So if you're familiar with it, then I would skip a couple modules ahead and add more into it. But if you're just getting started in gaming, that's good, right? You play a game, you're like, oh, that's cool, and then you can make it a little more complex, a little more interesting as you get the hang of it. So
definitely different a lot of opportunity for levels here. So if you want something that's going to only be one game, but kind of feels like more games that you can grow into, this is a really good option. And it's fun. I know we didn't really talk about the main track that you're going.
Oh yeah,
you get bonuses. Forgot all the bonuses.
I forgot the name of the track, but you go around this track and you get like, you get a extra table so you can serve more guests, or you get another
like entertainment. Like that was one of them too, where you might that way you attract more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that is Taverns of Tall.
Okay, we saved our absolute best 2 for last, and I'm going to go ahead and share my... It's so hard. These are probably like a tie. I don't know, though. So the game I'm going to share is something that we always play pretty much every Valentine's Day. I love Dinner in Paris. Zach's not as big of a fan of this one, but I think this is the perfect date night game. I would say this is even better than the one Zach's going to say. So I love Dinner in Paris. You have these amazing little buildings in this game. And so it's very different from the other Paris that we talked about. In this building, you have like this terrace, and there's 4 different sides of your terrace that you can build your buildings on. And these buildings, you get them by acquiring resources, which are cards in this game. So the resources might be like bread, meat, cheese, tomatoes or something. Like one of them is like a pizzeria, one of them is a like brasserie, like everything, the frita stand. So there's all these little stands, and the buildings are really, really adorable. You have to like create your little square of Paris. You also have your terraces that are color coded. Even on the back here, you can see like that's your opponent, red versus blue or whatever color you are. So again, we've only played this at 2. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Plays good at 2. There's still a lot of player interaction time. You can still cut each other off depending on where you're building buildings. It is like most points at the end wins, and you get points by building your buildings, laying out your terraces, acquiring cards that may cover a terrace, and so then you get to get a card based on where you're covering your little terrace and your territory. You're gonna kind of explain the boards where you're taking terraces off.
Oh yeah, so everybody has a player board that has, like Michelle was saying, the terraces, and it also has like your cost per buildings that you're building and things like that. And so, say you build a frita stand. You can build terraces off that frita stand, and you're pulling them off that track. The more terraces you have for your frita stands, the more expensive each one is going to become. And so it's not like you can just say, I'm going to go for just cheap stuff, and then it's going to eventually cost you more money to build all those. So,
it's not complicated. It really isn't.
No, it's really not.
You really are just drawing cards and collecting resources. That's what you're doing when you're drawing the cards. And then once you have what you need, you build your building. Like you build your restaurant, you build your frita stand. I think that's the one I keep saying because it's one of the easier ones to build. But there's other restaurants too that are worth more points because
crepes. There's a crepes one.
Require more.
Yeah. Resources. No, and the like Michelle said, the resources or the components, the buildings and such. It's all really cool. The boards are really neat. They're dual layered, so the little stuff doesn't slide around too much. And that's the biggest thing I think my gripe is you a lot of the times you're just drawing resources, and a lot of the times the resources aren't really out there, the ones you want. And
he wishes there was a wild, which I would agree. If they had a wild, that would help in this game. But there's still the helper cards that if you land like on the pigeons, what I was talking about, if you build on a pigeon, if you build like your terrace on a pigeon, you get a card that could have like a bonus action that might help you be able to get those resources. So
it's so fun. And I never decline an opportunity to play it. But
right, and the terrace, the way you know how to build your terraces is with objective cards that you get at the beginning of the game. So you're not just like, where do I put these terraces to build? It's like you have a card that you're like trying to do a certain shape. So nice little goal objective there too. Really fun. Dinner in Paris.
That was Dinner in Paris. This one is the one I would suggest is Vculture. So Vculture Essential Edition, and once you get a couple games under your belt, throw in Tuscany Essential Edition, and it's awesome. This game is, you own a winery, so you're building up your winery, you're planting grapes, harvesting the grapes, then you got to make wine, and then you got to use the wine to fill orders to get points, and that's generally how it goes. There's different seasons. There's winter, spring, summer, things like that.
Our dog.
Yeah, our dog's moving around back there. But it's really, you have workers, so you're placing workers to do all these actions, and basically you have to allocate your workers throughout the entire year. So if you're using those workers in the spring, they won't be available in the winter. And like I said, the Tuscany expansion is awesome because it expands the board. There's more seasons.
Well, you can just see all 4 seasons very clearly, so
Yeah.
it makes more sense on where to place. I honestly would not play this game unless we had the Tuscany expansion. It just makes so much more sense to see all 4 seasons like in a linear format. The original board, not a huge fan of the original board of this game.
Yeah, which I will say I've played it recently online. And it wasn't as bad, because I used to do the exact same thing, but it wasn't as bad as I remember it being. But again, if you can play Tuscany, play it. There's also a cooperative expansion for it called Vculture World, where you're doing the exact same things that you're doing in Viticulture, but you're doing it cooperatively. Everybody has to get, to whatever the point threshold is in, I think, 7 rounds. And there's different parts of the world that grow wine or grow grapes for wine, and so there's different scenarios, I guess you would call it.
We've only played that one twice.
Yeah, we've only played 2 of it, so that's one we need to
get out more. Yeah,
but yeah, that's very
so
cool.
if you're worried that a board game is going to cause a rift or something, then Viticulture World would be a great opportunity because you're playing together.
That's
you're
right.
trying to beat the game together. So I remember when we played it, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it might be another good one instead of all these, because all these others are, more head to head.
Yeah. So, but that's Viticulture.
That wraps up our date night game recommendations. So if you have any favorite date night games, please drop them in the comments below. We would love to hear what everyone else is playing.
That's right. And until next time, I'm Zach.
And I'm Michelle.
And this has been A Couple Games.